Welcome, everybody. Liam Murphy back to talk fantasy football, NFL best ball, NFL news, all of that jazz on the eve of the draft. I have done 100 big boards, so 50 left for me if I'm going to max, which I'm going to give a solid try at. I'm not going to stress if I get 114 or whatever. Looks like this one did fill. We're going to kick things off with the news portion. And that would be, we got a big one. And that would be that Derek Carr could miss the start of the season for a shoulder injury. So I'm going to update my ranks later today over at beatbestball.com. Who do we get in this draft? We got hit him with the gritty. So we'll see. We'll see how that man rips it. But yeah, I mean, Carr becomes nearly undraftable for me. And this has quite a wide range of cascading effects in my mind, where number one, Carr nearly undraftable. But the big thing is the Saints have the 9th overall pick in the draft. And, this could go a couple ways, but you would assume that the Saints are highly considering Shedeur Sanders or Jackson Dart at 9th overall. This is good news for the teams behind them that don't need quarterback. The other thing they could do is, they just got a new head coach. They have quite a lot of issues as far as their team. So they could go best player available, try to roll with the Spencer Rattler experience, try to get the 1st overall pick, and try to land like Archie Manning if he comes out. Obviously, there's a lot of risk in that. I believe they had a lot of guys at Jackson Dart's Pro Day, which is noticeable or notable. Let's see here what Kev Slice does. Saquon. I've been going Gibbs a lot. We'll go Bijan today. And I'll be right back. I just need to turn my AC down. Girlfriend put the heat on. Classic. Heating me out in here. So this is a good question. Am I dropping all Saints in the news? No, I think this would be an overreaction. Really, the only actionable things for me is far less likely to take Derek Carr. Like, break class in case of emergency, I would take him. Still taking Olave, still taking Kamara, still taking Shaheed, still taking Juwan Johnson. It's not like Derek Carr was playing like, Pat Mahomes, Josh Allen, right? So we just kind of need a guy to chuck it for those guys to have fantasy value. And obviously depends who, if they get a Shedeur, that's probably a bump to Kamara. I believe he's a little bit more prone to checkdowns, right? If they get a Dart, that's probably better for Olave and Shaheed. Maybe a little bit less checkdowns. So yeah, no actionable difference there. But and it also makes me more into Dart and Shedeur because it's simply, already I was taking these guys some. I actually have Dart ranked one spot. Actually, I just lowered him one spot behind Shedeur. And I think both have decent chances at starting pretty early, if not from week 1. So Dart will go undrafted all the time. He's probably a better click than Russell Wilson, right? So that is my opinion there. The other thing I did is I went through and I pulled the NFL teams and their draft capital. And you can glean some info from this. We got Gritty hitting the Josh Allen classic. Are the NFL rich getting richer? And so I just went through the playoff teams and went through their picks. So the Chiefs have 8, a first, a second, 2/3, a fourth, and 3/7. So what's notable is you have 5 picks in the first 4 rounds. Obviously, you are net benefit on picks there. We're going to go alpha running back start, Bijan JT. The Bills have 10, a first, 2 seconds, 2 fourths, 2 fifths, 2 sixths, right? And, when you think about this, maybe some of you want to bet the draft. I would think that the Bills are a little bit more likely to move up in the draft, right? Like they're a good candidate to move down because obviously when you have a back end of the first pick, such as the Chiefs, such as the Bills, these are the bad, the teams like the Browns, teams like the Giants, etc. They're probably going to want to trade to get the 5th-year option if a quarterback is there, Tyler Shuck, or Jalen Milroe, whatever. So they could trade down, but then you think that like Buffalo probably does not think they have 10 roster spots available. So I think, packaging a couple fourths, packaging their 2 seconds, they seem like candidates to move up to try to get guys they want rather than just 10 guys. The Ravens are perpetual winners on this list. They do very good things comp pick wise. They also have 5 picks in the top 4 rounds, as does Buffalo. So really the AFC elite here is also going to be getting better during the draft. Sure, man. Let's triple running back here. Bijan, JT, Josh Jacobs. So the Ravens have a first, a second, a third, 2 fourths, a fifth, 4 sixths, and a 7th. These are almost assuredly comp pick. Remember that the Bills got the 2nd from Steph Diggs trade. They also lost their 3rd because of the Amari Cooper trade. The Texans still have 7 picks even after trading away their 2nd to Buffalo. You would think that they would really like this pick, seeing as they need a lot of O-line help. A first, a second, 2/3, a fifth, and 2 sevenths. The Chargers have 10 picks. A first, second, third, fourth, fifth, 4 sixths, and a 7th. And the Broncos have the normal 7, and the Steelers are a little light. So, like teams like the Chargers, the Bills, and the Ravens, all north of 10 picks, all of these teams, I think, are quite likely to select a running back in the draft. It's supposed to be a draft with a lot of running backs available. You have so many picks. You're sitting there in the 5th. You're sitting there in the 6th. You're like, why not upgrade our RB whatever, our RB2, our RB3. So the Ty Johnsons of the world, the Keaton Mitchells of the world, all these guys have a little bit, Ray Davis even, they have a little bit more implied risk with these teams having so many picks. And in the Chargers case, this may be why J.K. Dobbins hasn't re-signed cheap for them, because probably the Chargers want to see what they get in the draft. And I would say the same thing with Keenan. Like, he's probably waiting out the draft. The NFC is not really close to the same. The Eagles have 8 with 4 fifth-round picks. The Lions have 7, but really nothing special here. The Commanders only have 5. A first, second, fourth, sixth, 7th. Obviously, they traded for Deebo Samuel. But, yeah, I mean, this is a team that, maybe you draft Austin Eckler with a little bit more confidence, because you really only got to dodge the 1st and the 2nd and the 4th probably. And then, a 6th-round running back, like, I'm not worried about that. The Rams have 8 picks. Again, a 1st and then 2/3. So, like, yeah, this is a team. Maybe Blake Corum becomes a little bit more confident. The Vikings only have 4 picks. So really what stands about the NFC is they have a way less capital than the AFC playoff teams. And obviously the Vikings traded for Jordan Mason, but they have a first, third, fifth, and sixth. Not good. And the Bucks, the normal sixth, the Packers, an extra seventh, right? So, yeah, I mean, it is interesting that obviously this doesn't take into effect net gain and loss of free agents, but the Chiefs, Bills, Ravens, 3 really good teams, 3 teams with a lot of picks in this draft. The Chargers, bright future, a lot of picks in this draft. The Eagles, decent amount of picks in this draft, right? Instead of a 6th and 7th, they got 2 extra fifths. So not really a surprise there. The NFL rich do tend to get richer through the draft. Okay, getting back to our draft. It is interesting that the Terry McLaurin drafter passed on Jaden Daniels, giving us the rare opportunity to hit him with the triple running back Jaden Daniels start. And we're going to do it. Why not? Obviously, it puts you behind the 8 ball, but in theory here, at wide receiver that is, in theory here, you're hoping Bijan, JT, Jacobs are covering your running back spots and flex a lot of the time. You're assuming Jaden Daniels is hitting your quarterback spot a lot of the time. So allows you to go 2 quarterbacks, allows you to stop at 4 or 5 running backs, and then just load up in quantity at wideout and tight end. How do my PGA teams do? Only gotten 32 of them. Pretty decent. I mean, didn't hand draft all of them, but really depend. These upcoming weeks, like basically, obviously Rory's going to be chalk, but what's more valuable is like advancing a Scotty Scheffler team, simply because, obviously if Rory wins every major, okay, it's a different story, but basically you want to advance low-owned studs, which you can't really control, but yeah, I mean, electric ending to the Masters. Rory pulls it out. Okay. Clearly going to go wide out here. Olave correlates. Addison correlates. Let's go Addison. I'm still a little bit uneasy about suspension risk with him, but does correlate with Josh Jacobs, does give you a second quarterback to stack up with. Chris Godwin also correlated, and what I mean by that is they correlate with division opponents. I just can't imagine being the guy ripping Cortland Sutton here. I know he had a good year last year. It's just not for me. Yeah, Lowry had a tough end to the last day. You hit the like, you hit the subscribe. I'll give you that second draft. Yeah, there's just a lot that could go wrong for Sutton. Donyata. Help me with the phonetics of that, but we'll say Donta. Says they're going to draft a wide receiver, plus they got Ingram. Yeah, I mean, if Ingram is Dante, thank you. He ran very hot on touchdowns last year. 1,008. You would think that Evan Ingram's going to get some of the easy targets. You would think that defenses are going to respect Bo Nix a little bit more and defend the pass a little bit more. I personally don't think Cortland Sutton is like a world beater talent, right? Like I have him ranked in this range because, I mean, George Pickens, Cortland Sutton, who's better at football? Tough call, right? And just because Aaron Rodgers hasn't signed yet, I don't think Pickens fantasy values in the dust. Broncos get a more dominant running back. He could get more share of the loads. Marvin Mims, you could see taking another step. I quite like betting on him as just a deep threat gadget guy. And then Ingram, pulling targets there. So, I don't know. So, and just not really an interesting click for me. Jerry Jeudy falls often, and he's never really like a, yes, let's go, Jerry Jeudy. But, I mean, the production was unreal. Maybe he's put it together. Obviously, there's risk of Travis Hunter landing there. But seems like the perfect guy to pair on a 3 running back start team. Right? Like Jacoby Myers goes next in the draft. So it's like, what has he been? Jeudy just, unreal end to the year. He was like one of the guys you were thrilled to have on your team. 145 targets. That's just like rather insane. Well, there is a very low chance that Chris Olave gets traded now. Like if Kellen Moore has enough job security, which you think he would, because literally teams were telling the Saints, no, I don't want to go there, right? Like Joe Brady of the Bills straight up told the Saints, I don't want to be your head coach. And he wasn't the only one. Joe Brady got to start there, a Bayou guy. So not a good sign. So you would think Kellen Moore has a lot of job security for New Orleans. I personally had the Saints for a long time as the 32nd team as far as hope rankings, meaning future hope. Like you can sell yourself, hey, things could go well for us. Until they get a young quarterback, their hope rating is very low, right? If they take Dart, they take Shadur, I might not think it's going to work out, but their hope rating automatically jumps astronomically because you take a quarterback, simply you can sell yourself. This is the guy, right? So some think the Saints might blow it up, right? What can you get for Chris Olave? I tend to think you could maybe get a back end of the first for him. With the health issues, maybe that goes down to a second. He's only like 24 or 25. So a rumor's been out there that the Bills would trade for Olave. I don't know how realistic that is. I think that some guy just speculated on it and then other people said it. But yeah, I'm not like, oh, can't take Olave because Derek Carr's out of the picture, right? That doesn't make sense to me. The bigger thing for Olave is simply, what is his health going to be? Thoughts on Jayden Reed? I quite like Jayden Reed. I do think the Packers are quite a likely team to add pass catcher in the draft. But, he's simply a good football player. He has high spike weeks. I have a pretty aggressive ranking on him. I want to be betting on Jordan Love and the Packers pass catchers. And so even if the Packers land a highly drafted rookie, I don't think that necessarily means Reed, tanks in value. That could help Reed. Like a Matthew Golden, who is a polarizing prospect stretching the field. They land him. Maybe that helps pull safeties. Jayden Reed was going as a second-round pick in resurrection drafts last year, right? Like he was one of the guys I was like, why did I not 100% this guy? And then Jordan Love got hurt. So I'm prone to just wipe away what happened with the Packers last year. And I quite like betting on all of the Green Bay offense. Would you have considered pulling up Debo over Addison to stack with Jayden, knowing Debo was a 2-3 turn guy? So I do consider that with some guys, right? Like Olave and Waddle, having been second-round picks for multi-years running, I'm like, okay. And I tend to think that, like, what happened to them, like, we can forgive. Debo, I'm less easy about. Do I recognize that Debo Samuel has huge games in his range of outcomes, huge, pretty big seasons as well? Yes, I do recognize that. I personally, though, like, I don't know, man. He was really bad last year, right? Like, I think he's bailed out by the fact that Brandon Ayuk tore his ACL, because otherwise I think Ayuk would have just outshone him by a wide margin. Let's rip downs here, correlate it with JT. But yeah, I'm just, will I take Debo occasionally? Yes, of course, but I'm just uneasy. I understand he had pneumonia. God, man, every time I stop saying this word, I forget how to phonetically pronounce it. He had fluid in his lungs, we'll say. Anyways, yeah, I'm just uneasy. He's not a guy who, when I think of him, like, I'm not like, oh, whose game will age gracefully in the NFL? Debo Samuel. Right? No, I don't think so. I think Debo Samuel plays pneumonia. Thank you. I don't know why I always say ma. I guess I'm like pronouncing the M. Pneumonia. Anyways, yeah, he's not a guy when I think of, I'm like, whose game's going to age gracefully? Debo Samuel. He plays a very, I think, demanding style of football where he is running through a lot of guys. He's getting the ball a lot. He's being banged into by defenders. I think like Stephon Diggs without an ACL, I would have said Stephon Diggs' game ages very gracefully because he kind of wins with route running, which is simply a different thing. Okay, so the choice is one of these wide receivers or be done at quarterback / get a tight end swing. And I think we're going to grab Purdy, be done at quarterback. Purdy and Pearsall, got to get your alliteration. Little stack. But yeah, I don't know. Debo, yes, he can get there as a running back. Yes, he can get there as a pass catcher. But just watching those games, it was pretty abysmal. So 29, I don't know. I'm just not really that worried about him burying me. I think he has 30 plus points in his range of outcomes in a week, right? I don't want to fade Jaden Daniels' offense, but yeah, I'm a little worried as far as like a season-long bet on Debo. And the Commanders, they don't have that many picks, but they pick late in the first, late in the second. You could totally see them going pass catcher at one of those picks. Wicks is such an easy click for me. Yeah, I have a high ranking on Dontavian Wicks. Quite like him. So not the most inspiring wide receiver room, but we're going to get a lot of bodies in there. I'm prone to think these types of builds are even better in 20 rounds. Do you think Brian Robinson gets replaced? Obviously Brian Robinson might have to compete with Debo somewhat for some of his short yardage work. I still draft him. I also still draft like Chase Brown. The Bengals are bringing in running backs, so Chase Brown's falling in markets. I'm still betting on Chase Brown until that happens. But yeah, B-Rob. Yeah, they might draft someone, but it's not like the Commanders have no holes on their team. They have quite a bit of defensive help they need. So I think Brian Robinson does something well in the NFL, and he'll continue to get opportunities at that. But yeah, I think every running back has risk of getting replaced. Kind of like Tyrone Tracy forward. Okay, so we will go Mims. Right, and this is an example of building a logical portfolio. Earlier, I told you guys I'm not really into Sutton. Does it mean I'm not into anyone in Denver? No. I'm betting on Mims, right? Which makes a lot of sense. I'm saying, okay, Sutton's not the guy you need in Denver. Mims takes a step. He is a guy I want to be betting on at a cheaper price. And Mims is just like a cheaper Shaheed, a cheaper Darnell Mooney to me. with a little bit more gadgety to his game. I think the Bo Nix drafter made an error not taking Mims. Can't wait to make my first run of rankings for Best Ball Mania. Just because a lot's going to shake up. Yeah, I agree. And I mean, this is kind of like, this is not the end all be all. Mims has 80-yard touchdowns. Sutton does not. Obviously, catching 3 30-yard touchdowns is a pretty good thing to have happen. I think Hollywood makes a lot of sense for us here. Just capturing some spike weeks, same division as Denver as well. So it's not the most inspiring wide receiver room, but you could see it working. Pearsall needs to take a leap and be a threat in that offense. Judy needs to maintain value. Addison not suspended. Downs just needs to get some spikes. And same thing with Mims and Hollywood. Is there a date for Best Ball Mania to drop an underdog? It will almost assuredly be the day after the draft ends. So I believe the draft ends on Sunday. And that means Best Ball Mania would drop on Monday. Or it ends on Saturday, which means it would drop on Sunday. So April 26th, last day. Yeah, so it will drop on the 27th or 28th if they repeat what they've done multiple years running. And I'll have rankings out probably that Monday, the 28th. Depends what I get in during the draft. I like to watch the draft. I personally learn things during the draft, right? Like, this is the most prepared I've ever been as far as the rookie class. But previous years, I would go in blind on rookies and just learn from the draft, right? Because, and that can be an edge sometimes. But some people, right, like Davis, and people like Dave, like they watch college ball, right? So they get attached. They think they know better the NFL teams, and that wipes clean for me, right? Like I didn't need to see Brian Thomas play in college. Fast guy, attached to Trevor Lawrence, loaded up, right? It can be that simple sometimes. Do you have plans to distribute your entries across the contest? Yeah, roughly 50 early, roughly 50 in the middle, and roughly 50 late. That's pretty much how I do it. So, maybe 50 in the month of May, 50 between June till August, and then 50 August. I'm going to have an article on that too. A lot of articles coming down the pipeline once the draft hits. So Penix, with Bijan, that was a possibility for us. I think likely does a little bit more for this team as far as taking a swing at an elite tight end here. How bittersweet would it be if someone drafting off your rankings won BBM? I mean, I wouldn't be upset. I drafted strictly off my rankings last year. Got 2 teams in the finals, nearly won. Is what it is, I'd be happy, man. Shout me out. Spread the love. Are you in on Travis Hunter? Yes, majorly. Right? Like, he is now up to pick 73. For the big board, I don't feel the need to be doing that just because I loaded up. He was one of my highest drafted players at one point. Still have 18%. Like there were weeks there where I feel like I was taking him in every single draft when he was in the 9, 10 plus range. So I have a lot of Travis Hunter already. But the thing about him is, yeah, and again, I think I need a wide receiver a little bit more. So Romeo Dobbs, honestly, like similar case to Wicks, simply a bet on Jordan Love, correlates with Josh Jacobs. He's a really nice guy to add to this wide receiver room where I just need guys who can get like 60 and a touchdown, which Dobbs obviously has that in his range. And he, pretty cheap. But the thing about Hunter is, I mean, I'm just operating with the assumption he's going to play wide receiver. And if Tet McMillan value is fair as a 4th to 5th round pick, and this guy has draft ranges anywhere from like 4 to back of the 1st, and everyone recognizes that Travis Hunter is a better wide receiver than Tet McMillan, obviously he's a huge value, even in the 7th, because, Tet goes 15th overall. He goes in the 4th. Travis Hunter goes 2nd overall. He goes in the 7th. I'll take the risk. I'll take the risk that he's going to play corner some weeks, right? I'm getting a guy that some people think is a Jerry Jeudy, Jamar Chase level wide receiver in the 7th round. Again, for the big board, it's not that simple just because I have a lot of him. But if I was someone who didn't have a lot of him, I would be loading up. I would not care about the price. Unless you want to just like full fade him for whatever reason. And I will be attacking him in Best Ball Mania too. I simply think he is a guy who could be, one of the best picks on the board. If his value starts to climb to the 5th round, that's where you get a little uneasy. It's like, you better be a damn good pick if you're gonna if I'm taking you over Chris Godwin, I think I usually show the draft board because people want to see the board, not just to hide my. I do like to hide my rankings somewhat while I'm drafting, just in case someone's like watching and trying to see who's top of my queue. But the main reason is I think viewers like to see the draft board and see what other people are doing in the draft. Our guy Gritty, CMC, Josh, Marv, James, Kamara, Laporta, Ramondre, Diggs, Keon, Kincaid, Goddard, Benson, Pitts, Penix. Not a crazy looking team from the grid. Yeah, I mean, I simply think J.K. Dobbins is waiting for a team to sign. He's probably going to sign as an RB2. He's going amongst other guys who we know are RB2s. And I understand his efficiency concerns, but that could get better with a full year of health now. So I'm not that scared off by Keenan Allen and J.K. Dobbins not signing. I'm still betting on these guys as they fall in drafts. When you say you went back and watched all of my drafts, how far back are we talking, Bobby? Because I've been drafting for a while now. Yeah, I think Rico, I quite like Rico. I think he's a value. It's tough. We're just going to build a strong running back room. Pick 172 for Rico Dowdle is just simply like disrespectful. Blake Corum's the next running back. Like, I just don't feel like taking Josh Palmer over him. Can Josh Palmer have a good year? Yeah, Josh Palmer is kind of like a poor man Romeo Dobbs, if you think about it, where like if he hits, he's going to hit in this kind of way, like 600 to 800 yards, 4 to 8 touchdowns. That has value, but I just don't want to give the teams that have better wide receivers to me Also, Rico Dowdle at a huge value because it's possible Rico is a pure 2. It's the Chuba show. Chuba is awesome. I like Chuba. But I also think it's possible Rico's the 1B and getting in there around the goal line. So I think it's just kind of disrespectful him going so late. Bills will definitely draft a wide receiver. I'll do you better. They almost assuredly are drafting someone fast. They have brought in Jalen Royals for visits. They have brought in Isaac Tesla, Dante Thornton. It seems they recognize that they need someone fast to stretch the field. Yeah, I'm, Gabe theory wise, I tend to not be as into huge risers such as Travis Hunter because all you got to tell yourself is like, look, he's simply not the guy you need week 17. But talent wise, ignoring what other people have, I think Hunter is a good click. And if I didn't have exposure to him, I would be fixing that. Seems like almost every draft you get a 4 quarterback drafter. I'm quite interested if this is going to maintain when it goes down to 18 rounds. Baker, Ward, Richardson, Geno. Stafford, Tua, Dak. Unstacked for Dak. We know the gritty likes quarterbacks. Pat Freiermuth, not exactly an exciting click, but perfectly crime tight end. A little bit of value there. Done at running back and quarterback on this team, so just loading up at the other positions. By this, do you mean my Apple podcast? Who was the last quarterback you do 2 quarterback builds with? I mean, that's a complicated question because, like, if I take Josh Allen, Lamar, Daniels, it doesn't really matter who my QB2 is. I'm stopping at 2. If I take Purdy and Goff, some of that, I think, is good enough to stop at 2 as well. Some people prefer 3 because of injuries and buys, etc. I think I'm going to work on that, Liam, getting the Apple Pod up and running. I don't know. Tolbert, who almost certainly is landing an expensive wide receiver, but, I think he fits this build. Yes, I do like Harold Fannin. Currently. If he goes in the 4th round of the draft, probably not. I played rugby with a guy who runs bow-legged too. He was still a beast on the pitch. So the team so far: Jaden, Brock, Bijan, JT, Jacobs, J.K. Dobbins, Rico. Simply 5 guys who were good last year, and it can be that simple in fantasy football last year. I mean, sometimes. Addison, Judy, Pearsall, Downs, Mims, Hollywood, Dobbs, Tolbert. Not exactly guys I want to ride into battle with, but you can see the spike weeks happening. Just need to run rather lucky in the playoffs for them to put it together. Likely and Freiermuth definitely gives you something to work with there. Gonna chuck on a third tight end, 2 more wide receivers. And, with this team, you're hoping most weeks you only need 3 wide receivers, right? Because you're counting kind of on running back to hit your flex a lot. I think Tutu is a similar bet to Tolbert. Kareem Hunt and Austin Eckler. This guy's a type. De'Ami Brown simply could be the wide receiver 2 in Jacksonville. I know. When I look up my YouTube on my phone, I always see this guy. Well, Gabe Davis, I don't think he'll ever be a target dominant wide receiver 2 again. But I don't know. There's a lot to work out in Jacksonville. De'Ami Brown, though, did get like $10 million. And I think he can play in the slot too. So you could have Brian, Gabe outside, De'Ami in the slot. Or Brian, De'Ami outside, Parker Washington in the slot. Yeah, Chigakonkwo, quite a cliff after him in my mind. Perfectly fine third tight end. What's up? Who Hames? Do you think Keon could at least be better than Gabe was on the Bills? I mean, Gabe Davis had some good years with Buffalo, right? And his game fit. His game quite fit best ball. 807, 807. I think Keon can be. I'm gonna be like, I really don't know how things are gonna go for Keon. Keon, he actually, like, statistically, just like pure stats wise, not advanced or anything, but he started pretty similar to Xavier Worthy. And then he got hurt for 4 weeks, right? So maybe Keon adds on to that. I could see Keon being like an 1,000 to 1,200 yard wide receiver with a lot of touchdowns, but Buffalo has a lot of uncertainty even for me because what we saw out of them last year was a really run heavy team. I also could see Josh Allen stop stealing as many goal line touchdowns as he gets older just to protect him in the regular season. That would be a good thing for all of the skill players in Buffalo. If Josh Allen is not taking the touchdowns, that means he's either throwing them to Keon Coleman, throwing them to Kincaid, throwing them to Shakir, James Cook is rushing them in, Ray Davis is rushing them in, etc. Right? It's not like a killer to Josh Allen's fantasy value, but it is a little bit of a knock to get, obviously if the running backs take it, that's no points for Josh. If he's throwing it, okay, 4 points instead of 6. So I think it's quite murky in Buffalo. I think that they could take a wide receiver at pick 30. So, yeah, I don't know. There's a lot to sort through. You have questions of Curtis Samuel. What's up with the turf toe? How does Josh Palmer fit into this team? Lot of questions. Okay. So Restrepo, we could bet on like the falling down. We could go for Mike Williams, Gabe Davis. Was it even though Restrepo ran slow, it's still like him and Isaiah Bond, I'm still leaving a light on. I'm still mixing these guys in. Let's do Restrepo. I think we need some rookies in this room. We don't have any rookies on this team. At worst case, he's a 0, and that won't kill me anyways. So, never really love how these teams look, but sometimes they perform. Daniels, Purdy, Bijan, JT, Jacobs, Dobbins, Rico, Addison, Judy, Pearsall, Downs, Mims, Hollywood, Dobbs, Jalen Tolbert, Downey Brown, Xavier Restrepo, Isaiah Likely, Pat Fryermuth, Chigakonkwo. Someone asked, why not take care of the DK overlay? Who says I'm not going to? Yeah, I mean, never want to take a guy in every draft, but look, if the NFL teams take Isaiah Bond in the second round, he is a value where he goes. Is it possible he's Jermaine Burton? Yes, he is. Be right back. All right. So yeah, last year I kind of went into Best Ball Mania season, taking things kind of easy, wanting to be refreshed for when Best Ball Mania dropped. I might be drafting kind of solidly these last 10 or so days though, because I don't know, I just want to get these contest max. But yeah, if you're planning on going hard in the season, nothing wrong with taking this week off, recharging. Well, most people think Coleman's game fits the slot, but obviously Khalil Shakir was Buffalo's best wide receiver, and he's kind of a slot guy. I think we'll go Lamb. Lamb definitely a little bit more risk than his contemporaries in the sense that Dak is hurt. So that's not great. Well, my understanding of Bond is that, and yeah, in my ranking update, I will be lowering him mainly because the market is, but my understanding is that he sent all of the texts to, gave all of the text to all 32 teams and let them make their own opinions on it. So again, I'm not here to speculate. Look, if Bond doesn't get drafted, he should not be taken in this. If he goes in the first or second round of the NFL draft, clearly NFL teams are comfortable with it. I got Bijan at 6 yesterday. Yeah, that's not like, okay. Is Bijan worlds above CeeDee Lamb, Puka, Brian Thomas, Nico? No. And that's how everyone outside of Jamar Chase, I feel that way about. Very flat tier of guys. I'm still taking Metcalf and Pickens. Yeah, I think Rodgers can support some spike weeks. Really all it takes for me. What's your stance on Ayuk? Don't love that he has double ligament injury. Simply do bet on the talent, though, especially when he falls to the end of, like, when he's here in the back 7th, 8th, the money in these contests are won weeks 15, 16, 17. So I'm kind of prone to just bet on that. He's a guy I've liked in the past. I don't really see a reason to be so unstable. If I liked him in the second, I definitely like him in the 7, 8. So yeah, does he have being a 0 in his range of outcomes? Sure. He got married the other day, was walking. Not that makes a big difference. Stephon Diggs also released a workout video. He seemed pretty good. So yeah, not a guy I want 100%, but I quite like Ayuk. Let's get Lad with Lan. Yeah, a lot of discussion on Isaiah Bond. I mean, Isaiah Bond's ADP right now is 194. That is, and I would say that he's falling as well. He's fallen to the 18th, basically. So, who else has an ADP in that range? Like Mike Williams. All these guys have mega risk. DeAndre Hopkins. So, yes, I'm operating with the idea Aaron Rodgers is a Steeler, but I mean, there's a huge way all this could go. Dart could be with Rodgers. Shadur could be with Rodgers. These are not good things. If you don't want to draft Bond, don't draft Bond. I'm not trying to hit Bond in every draft, but for me, when people were pretty high on a guy, they were drafting him in we can see where he went in my first draft. Probably the 150s plus. Pick 125, Isaiah Bond. That was pre-combine. Yeah, when you were valued there and nothing tangible has happened yet, I'm going to be mixing you in. I've seen mock drafts recently mock him to the Saints or the Rams at pick 26. So I think we're going to learn things about Isaiah Bond on draft night, like most of the rookies, right? Your favorite fantasy nerd analysts can tell you whatever they want. What happens NFL draft? Draft capital is the number one correlation. Yeah, the big board more so. In Best Ball Mania, I'm far less likely to draft a guy who goes from an ADP of 150 to 70. So Rashee Rice for me last year, I was not taking simply because I didn't want to compete with 10th round Rashee teams against 3rd round Rashee teams, right? I didn't care his range of outcomes. That to me is just a game theory no, right? Other people don't view it that way. So, but hey, I mean, Rashee getting hurt is kind of an example why you don't take that risk. And my early drafted teams with unique ADPs reaching the Best Ball Mania finals is one example of why you don't want to take that risk either because it's the uniquely drafted ADP. But yeah, in the big board, there's so much movement, so many landmines, so much, yeah, that like I'm not as worried about taking guys who went up and down. Interesting. It's kind of nice when you get sniped early on like a Terry because it's like, do I always want to go elite quarterback? No. I like JMO a lot. I still think Cook, Hampton's a nice value. Cook's a nice value. JMO, like these three guys are all really nice clicks to me. I'm going to do Cook though. If I was like power ranking the guys you would most want out of Buffalo, I would say Cook is probably number one. He ran very hot on touchdowns, obviously, but the Bills have a really good O-line. And it just kind of seems like they want to beat teams up, and they can. Yeah, I think most people think it's more likely Hampton goes up. Like, I could see Hampton easily leaping Cook, Brown, Brees, Kyron, Jacobs. So I could see Hampton slotting in at the 2-3 turn. That doesn't even matter for big board drafts, right? And I don't really see Cook going to like this. Cook is not going to the 2-3 turn. But Hampton could also fall some. You are right. Like if Hampton lands with the Steelers, that's not that exciting to me. It's not like Jalen Warren's going to 0. So you'd be drafting a guy in a known timeshare. Plenty of late quarterback options too, having Ladd and Lamb. Do Godwin this time. I like Waddle and Godwin quite a bit. Waddle has outs to Tyreek getting traded. Yeah, I mean, the Fields people are crazy. I'm just kind of waiting on the draft. Like, will I mix Fields in this range? Sure. But he has significant risk of the Jets drafting a quarterback high. Yeah, Fields was going very late. Let's find an old Fields team of mine. Here we go. Justin Fields, pick 66. So I went Saquon, T, Marvin, Olave, Rasheed. Rasheed picked 51. He went 3-4 turn in this. Sam Laporta, Khalil Shakir, Aaron Jones, Jared Goff, the pair with Laporta, Brian Robinson, and Cam Scatabo. Evan Ingram picked 142. That's the other thing I did. When Evan Ingram got cut from the Jags, he was free fall in drafts. I just kept on packing him on. Romeo Dobbs, Justin Fields pick 166. Pat Freiermuth, Wan'Dale Robinson, Dart, Lloyd, Diami Brown, and Roman Wilson. And, I took Fields, I took Freiermuth because of Fields, But this could work out if Dart lands in with the Steelers, having Freiermuth with Dart. So teams now, basically this team would be without like Aaron Jones or Brian Robinson or something. It was pretty much before the combine where, like, I remember I did a show with Davis and he was still a little uneasy. And I was like, I'm just hammering. Henderson getting quite a lot of positive buzz. And a lot of NFC teams. Some of them are playing each other. Yeah, early on in the season, there was less stacking, I would say. Let's try to find another Fields team. I don't know how much Fields I took because I think here is post combine. Yeah, I knew I built some teams like this, which I like, which is like fragile wide receiver rooms with Hunter and Kirk. Like, I like that a lot. Nico, London, Worthy, Jamo, Olave, Johnson, Mahomes, Warren, Dobbins. So an example of not a value. Dobbins, who's fallen. Hunter, though. T-Law. Kirk. Value on him as well. Wright, Ferguson, Freiermuth, Henry, Dart, Lloyd, Mitchell, LeQuint, Allen. So, yeah, the running back room to be determined. Not the best. We just looked at that Fields team. I don't think I have a lot of Fields. And I'm not that sweating it. Like, he has a 1,000-yard rushing season on his record, obviously. Here's another Fields team. Achane, London, Brown, Cook, Waddle, Pickens, Warren, Jones, Travis Hunter again, Kirk. We'll come back to that. Let's get the gang back together. Ayuk, loading up on the injured dudes. Here we go. Hunter, Kirk, Tua, Diggs, right? So this is some nice value. Hunter, Diggs, Fields, Otton, Darnold, Henry, Demario Douglas, Mike Gesicki, Malik Washington, Curtis Samuel. So mostly value on this team. 5 nice running backs. Darnold unstacked. Fields unstacked, but who cares? Tua stacked with Achane and Waddle and Washington. Getting some division correlation. And, you know, for wide receiver, probably being like the question mark, that's what's nice is when you get the Hunters, the Diggs, the guys who went way up in value. Yeah, I saw that. Cardinals hosting Scatabo. I've not been a Trey Benson drafter. He was kind of expensive. I mean, do we want to stack Fields with Garrett Wilson? I know DJ Moore had that crazy season with Fields, but I still think that was an anomaly. I've not been drafting Joe Flacco, but other people are. I think this is a good type of team to layer Ayuk in, by the way, because Ladd, Terry, Lamb, these guys are playing to start the year. So is Jaden Reed. Chris Godwin and Ayuk, I'm not sure, but at least I got the strength elsewhere. I think we'll go Baker this time. Didn't really need to because still have Herbert, still have Dak, still have Purdy, still have Love. But every once in a while, you'll just go quarterback, and then you are left holding the bag. Have I moved Braylon Allen up your rankings? I have. I'm ahead of market. I'm pretty sure I've been ahead of market the whole time, though. I mean, I think people are just into Fields because he has 40-point weekly upside, which is a good thing to be into. But Baker Mayfield has 35-point weekly upside. And I know he is starting the whole year, barring injury. I don't like, this range, it's totally fine to take Fields amongst this group of guys. The people who are taking Fields in like the 5th round, that's a no dog. Probably pencil in a quarterback for the 10th or 11th with most of our stacking options still on the board. And Love falls a lot. Yeah, see, Fields goes here. That's fine to me. Purdy goes. So we still have Love. We still have Herbert. We still have Dak. Yeah, I just don't want anything to do with those running backs. We're going to take McMillan. I think he pairs well with Godwin in the sense that at worst case, okay, he's kind of an expensive wide receiver 3. But best case for McMillan is Godwin's a little slow to start the year. He's hot, plus takes a step. I take DeMarcus with Ayuk sometimes when I have Purdy. Not usually doing that without Purdy, though. Who am I going to take at running back? I'm just going to take a lot of guys. Who? I don't know, but like I would have taken Ramondre here. I just don't really feel like taking ETN currently. I think, the Jags, they could take Gene T, man. You could see them being like, you know what? Let's just get generational talent at QB, RB, wideout, Trevor, Brian Thomas, and Gene T, and then we'll build it out from there. Some people draft with logic. Some people are more into tarot cards. Speed saying, I've been taking Rattler because in the Chinese New Year, it's the year of the serpent. Rattler equal rattlesnake. Some would say Rattler equals rat, though, Speed. Have you thought about that? And you know what eats rats? Snakes. Let's go Herbert. Why not? Good question. Good question. Yeah, what Fields was last year was not that good of a fantasy asset. He had a very low floor, and he didn't hit ceiling all that much. You want a team really that's like willing to just like let Fields. You don't want a game manager, basically, which is what the Steelers are trying to do. My mom has always been like, you should get a horoscope girl to come on your channel and do a draft. I've thought about it. I just don't know how I don't know how the content would go. It would be fun, I'm sure, but I would need someone who's like willing to joke around and not take themselves so seriously. Naked CJ Stroud. Oh no, Stroud with Kirk. That's fine. There's a lot of guys who we've historically drafted very high, very cheap. Kirk, Olave, Waddle, Diggs. Yeah, that's more the vibe I get. Aaron Glenn, defensive coach, vibes feel like ball control and defense. I agree, man. I don't really think that shout out moms, Connor. I don't really get the vibes that he's gonna be like, you know what, we need Fields to get out there and rip it. Mason, a really nice click. Mason is an example of a guy I do have a lot of cheap drafts from, but whatever. Going from a 16th round pick to an 11th, not as crazy to me. I need running backs anyways. And there's a lot of week 17 matchups that would not be fun for Fields. In Buffalo, that's a no. Against Buffalo, also not great. In Miami, okay, that's a smash. I'd be into him then. These are like the minor things that matter to me. New England? I don't know, man. New England's invested in that defense. It's not going to be surprising to me if New England is second in the division. Hey, man. When we are our mother's age, we're going to need help doing stuff. I don't know what the stuff is going to be, but we're going to need help too. Teleporting or something. Evan Ingram, a guy who I just don't click anymore either. Maybe I would take him with Bo, but yeah, had my time with Ingram, got a lot in 12th through 14th, and on to the next. Okay. Yeah, I think embracing the unknown at running back is quite good on this team. Tootin had a run where he was like going in this range, and people have cooled off somewhat from that. Because the thing about Tootin is he could still go in like the 4th round, But 3rd running back on the team, swinging for upside, makes a lot of sense with how my team is constructed currently. If you enjoy these videos, you've been riding it out with me, do me a favor, like the video, subscribe, turn on those noties, drop a comment if you're watching later. Join the Discord, links below. And if you want rankings for when Best Ball Mania season drops, get those over at beatbestball.com. Nice, Devin. I love watching the draft. It is a killer, though, when you root for a team and, for me, Buffalo, you wait till pick 30, which is, midnight or something, and then they trade out. You're like, at least tell us who it's going to be. Doing a draft day special? Probably not, Matt. I might do a rapid reaction video after the 1st round, but probably just going to enjoy the draft rather than making content out of it. Rico and Dobbins both make a lot of sense. Let's do Kyle Pitts, though. Yet to do Kyle Pitts. I have very little Kyle Pitts, so need tight end. He's going to be one of 3. Got to have some of him. I could probably do that. Recap winners and losers style. I have a ton of Garendo and Mason early. Don't like that the market is catching on to that. Is what it is, though. That's why you should watch early on this channel. Javonte. There was a couple weeks there where people were enthused about him. Why does Mason go so much earlier than Garendo? Good question. I think it's because the standalone value with Mason is widely accepted. People accept that Mason is going to be taking the goal line role, quite likely. He is going to be sharing the load with Aaron Jones. With Garendo, you have multiple options. Number 1, CMC workhorse. Not good for Garendo. Number 2, 49ers draft a running back high in the draft. Garendo goes to RB3. Not good for Garendo. Garendo, though, massive ceiling still, a.k.a. RB1 on his team ceiling because CMC is CMC and gets hurt again, right? So pretty much it. I am anxious to see who actually goes early as mock drafts show 142 first rounders. Yeah, there are a lot. That's the other thing. The Vikings are for sure not drafting a running back. They traded for one. It's the same thing. 49ers, I think, have 11 picks in the draft. So they weren't a playoff team, so I didn't pull them. But they are, I think someone actually commented that on my thing. Yeah, Paul said San Francisco with 11, a first, second, 2 thirds, 2 fourths, 2 fifths, 3 sevenths. So you can pretty much lock in a running back up in the 3rd for them. The real question is if they go Ashton Jeanty at 11. What to do with the Chiefs running back room? I mix them all in. But yeah, they seem quite likely to add one as well. This is why we passed on the running back, because despite what their ADP is, the vibe of them is just that they're falling in drafts. And I don't know. I'm going down with the ship with J.K. Dobbins currently. If he's a 0, doesn't even kill you. I still think he's going to play football this year. Right? Like, let's pretend he resigns with the Chargers and the running back room is just Najee and Dobbins. I'd sign up for competing with Najee Harris. Running back needy team, possibly correlates with Herbert. Makes a lot of sense for my team. Thing about the Chiefs is they high-key need O-line help, and their O-line is like one of the highest paid in the league. So that's not good. When you pay on the opposite side, the Bucks have one of the best O-lines, and they're one of the cheapest O-lines in the league. That is really good, right? So yeah, Rico doesn't make it back. I would say Rico is a safer click than Dobbins, but Dobbins offers a smidge more upside. Where do you think Keenan ends up going? I really don't know, man. I could see a very wide range on that, anywhere from retiring to the Jags. I could see that. And then obviously the Chargers and Bears are probably favorites. Yeah, taking these guys who have fallen, Dobbins and co. They're a good way to fight against the early teams who maybe have better ADP value on someone like Travis Hunter. Because, some of those teams have Dobbins in the 10th. If Dobbins is an important player, you have him in the 14th. Yeah, I mean, Rachaad White makes all the sense in the world for our team. Pair him with Baker. Little uneasy that he could get displaced, but 15th round Rachaad White, probably a value. I don't think Seahawks for Keenan makes any sense. You're going to have Kupp, JSN, and Keenan all just running the same slot routes. Like, that's like the team maybe the least likely in the league, I would think. Yeah, I mean, what's happening, guys, is that people listen to pods that talk about rookies, and these pods hype up DJ Giddens and RJ Harvey, who, I mean, perhaps deserve this praise, right? It's not like I don't draft these guys. And so then people draft, and they're like, I want to take the guy that dude was hyping up, DJ Giddens, RJ Harvey. I don't want to take Rico Dowdle. I don't want to take J.K. Dobbins. So they simply prefer the mystery box, which is getting the hype. And some of these guys could be league winners, RJ Harvey, DJ Giddens. Some of these guys are going to be Blake Corum or worse, And it's not like it's not like the vets don't have some risk. Rachaad White, RB3, okay, that's a risk. J.K. Dobbins, unsigned, that's a risk. Right? Like, you can almost lock in Giddens and Harvey being on a team. But yeah, I think it's gone a little far. And the great thing is we're going to learn very soon from the draft. Yeah, the mystery box could be anything, even J.K. Dobbins, right? So the team so far: Baker, Herbert, James Cook, Jordan Mason, Baishal Tootin, J.K. Dobbins, Rashad White, CeeDee Lamb, Loud McConkey, Terry McLaurin, Chris Godwin, Jaden Reed, Brendan Ayuk, Jalen McMillan, Kyle Pitts. 5 picks left. 2 of them will be tight end. I think 1 will be a wide receiver, and the other 2 will be running back. Some nice ADP values on White and Dobbins. Their ADPs are probably a little bit fake, but you could see this working out. A couple of these running backs are hits. I would, if I didn't have like Ayuk and Godwin, I'm definitely stopping at just 7 on this room. But with the uncertainty on these guys like playing to start the year, don't really want to go into the year with 5 wideouts. So gonna tack on a 7th or an 8th. Eckler, I think, makes a lot of sense for my team. Get an adult in there, lock up some early season production, you hope. He obviously has risk as well, but embracing risk in the 14th plus round seems good. Eckler is on the Commanders. I think people are just assuming they're going to draft a running back. But again, they don't have that many picks. The Commanders only have 1st, 2nd, 4th, 6th, and 7th. Obviously, Debo's going to eat into a little bit of the Eckler work too, right? Like, it could be a weird offense out of Washington. In Jaden Daniels, we trust, but like it's going to be like Eckler and Debo running these like little rub routes, getting dump offs, plus Terry down deep. Yeah, I believe Eckler has like another year left on the Commanders. Gesicki goes, a little bit of a bummer. Let's take Rashad Smith. This guy made hype at the Senior Bowl. Big tier break after him to this group. And yeah, I feel pretty good about this running back room. So I'm pretty sure we're going to stop here. Where Cook, you assume he's, in the mix for one of the best running backs. And then some stable guys with like Mason, Eckler, some rookie upside. So I feel pretty good with how the running back room came together. What do you know about Isaac Tesla? Big, fast guy. Gotten brought into pre-draft visits for teams like Buffalo. I mix him in. The issue is like, is he going to go 2nd, 3rd, 4th plus? Because like 4th plus is like, okay, possibly. And I know that this class of wide receivers, although decent, doesn't have a lot of body types like Isaac Tesla. So that could get these guys drafted a little bit higher. Let's pull up his Raz. 9.93 RAS, raw relative athletic score. 4.43 40, 157 10-yard. Not a great 10-yard. 6.85 3-cone. Crazy 3-cone for his size. 6'3", 214. Could see this guy being quite a good value. Okay. Yeah, I like these wide receivers, but I think this team needs some tight ends a little bit more. Getting some division correlation with Bucks, Falcons, Saints. So, Juwan Johnson, come on down. I would have taken Mike Gesicki over Brashad Smith if he was there. Mike Gesicki, I believe he's been on 2 Best Ball Mania champions. So, the team with 2 picks left to go. Baker and Herbert, Cook, Mason, Tootin, Dobbins, White, Eckler, Smith, Lamb, McConkey, Terry, Godwin, Reed, Ayuk, McMillan, Pitts, and Juwan. Send me a sample, Ty. Pay me like $50 a week. I'll do your thumbnails. Send me a sample. I had someone else reach out about helping me with this too, and I just wasn't organized enough at the time. But yeah. I don't think my thumbnails are that bad. Nor do I think if I had the best thumbnails in the world, like, would they take me to it's not like I'd get like 2,000 more views a video. It's not that bad. This was a good one, I thought I did. Isaac Tesla, someone's listening. Let's go Tyler Conklin. Some risk that the Chargers select Loveland with the Michigan connection, but as things currently stand, fantasy relevant tight end multi-years running on the Chargers, rarely drafted. Makes sense. Are the Eagles likely to take a running back? I would say with Kenneth Gainwell leaving, yes. And this one's pretty good, right? Because they have a lot of picks too. Let me find it. A first, second, third, fourth, and 4 fifths. Like, I mean, 5th plus has got to be a running back, right? These teams that don't have that many holes, although they lost a lot of talent, I still draft Will Shipley, though, with confidence. Better thumbnails definitely would help. I mean, there's a lot I should do that I don't. I should be on TikTok. I should be on Twitch. I should be on Blue Sky. We're doing what we do, though. Brutal auto drafters. Please, God, fix this. Make these people go on auto. Like, the leaving the draft. I'm simply going to make my picks with these last picks, not just throw a bunch of people in the queue. Usually, so all right. I think one more wideout makes sense. Is this a Deontay Johnson team? I don't know. Brandon Cooks. The theory is he gives you a couple weeks to start the year, enough for you to get Brandon Ayuk into the lineup. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So the team finished up as Baker and Herbert, James Cook, Jordan Mason, Bichelle, Tootin, J.K. Dobbins, Rashad White, Austin Eckler, Brashard Smith, CeeDee Lamb, Ladd, McConkey, Terry McLaurin, Chris Godwin, Jaden Reed, Brandon Ayuk, Jalen McMillan, Brandon Cooks, Kyle Pitts, Juwan Johnson, Tyler Conklin. That's what I got for you today. Be sure to like the video, subscribe, join the Discord, links below. Check out beatbestball.com. Have a great day. I'll see you next time.